My name is John Fountain. I'm your lecturer for Introductory Game Theory. While I'm chatting, I'm just going to pass around a handout, which everybody should have one. It's got a bunch of URLs, web information, plus some. Just pass it up behind you if you don't mind. I'll just start at the. Just up behind you. Plus a little template for some things that we're going to do today. When I was reviewing over what we're going to do today, I looked at last year's material, and I realized the last 2 years I've been spending 15 minutes in the first part of each of these lectures talking about tests and textbooks and where to go for web resources and all that kind of stuff. So this time I thought I'd kind of consolidate material a little bit, and what I do here, I put up on the web a little instructional video. Okay, so it starts like this. Hopefully. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what I've done is I put up a little 10-minute blurb there, which takes gives us a bit more time in the class, talks about the textbook, talks about tutorials, assessment, all that kind of other interesting stuff. Because in this first lecture, what I'd like to do is have a little bit of fun. And speaking of fun, I have here probably 100 chocolate bars. Okay, I'm not sure that we'll get rid of them all today, but sometime in the course, you will grow fat from eating chocolate bars in this class, because a lot of the things that we'll do will be little experimental games involving payoffs, and we either use money or chocolate bars. Both of those usually are desirable. Okay, but today we're just doing chocolate. Now, everyone got a handout up there? If you don't have a handout, just please raise your hand. This lady here doesn't have a handout. She's going to need one. Okay. Essentially, everything that I give out in the class will be available on the web probably about an hour after. Audiovisual guy up in the back there does some recording, so the lectures will be up on the UC internal server. It usually takes about 24 hours. I do a little screen capture with the audio, and I do some editing of that because we often get sidetracked, or we have some interesting discussions, and I want to make some extra comments. And I put those also up on a server for you to be able to watch from your browser, or you can download them to your computers, whatever you like. Okay. Let me think here. On that handout, in the top left-hand side are a bunch of URLs or links to important resources. Okay, so everything you can get goes up in the web. I don't always use Blackboard. As a matter of fact, more often than not, I use my own website because I have a bit more control there. But we do use Blackboard for the discussion. So again, if you go through that little administrative video that I was showing you at the beginning, you'll get some ideas about how to play with the course website and find the resources that are there. But every lecture, okay, we're going to be going to. Let's have a look here. I'll just take you quickly through what we're going to be looking at. We've got a web page that looks something like this. There's week 1, and on week 1, you go at lecture 1, lecture 2, a bunch of things. You know, there'll be a handout, there's video resources, there's reading, some suggested ideas. If we go into week 5, for example, you'll see here at the bottom, week 5 is when we have our first midterm, and I've got all the past midterms sort of sitting up there. So you want to be able to make sure you can access that website. I've given you the links on this handout, but what I will do after class is I'll send an email around to everyone who's enrolled, and so you have those links. You can just click on them, then you can bookmark them and use them, okay? Now, the first thing that wrong class. The first thing I want to think about is what the course is all about. And the usual way to start then is to give some definitions. Now, in the past, what I've done is I've actually asked students what you guys think that game theory is all about, but we've got quite a file of resources on that now, and what I'd like you to do is go and look at some of the answers that students have given in the last years by looking at some of the past lectures. For the last 2 years, the whole lectures of all of the classes are online, and what I've done is excerpt little bits out of it so you can get we can use some of that material from the past. It's been very interesting because we get some interesting stuff happening in the class. So I want you to think about what game theory is all about, but what we're first going to do is look at these definitions. Okay. We've got a textbook. I don't know, has anybody bought the textbook? Actually purchased it? Anybody got a copy? Really? Used copies? Anyone got a used copy? Did you be able to find? Or are we giving up on textbooks now? We just do photocopying and that kind of stuff? I think it's about $130 if you buy it new. But there's a lot of secondhand books around as well, so you should be able to pick up a secondhand copy. The text is good. And it's important for you to either have the text or have access to the text for getting a good mark, because all of the exam questions are basically out of the end of the chapter type questions. Sometimes with some modifications, but doing those end of chapter questions can be really helpful for getting a good mark. Okay? So the authors of our text, Dixon and Skeeth, define game theory as a science of rational decision-making in interactive situations. Okay, real abstract kind of definition. You might think initially that a game is just, well, Scrabble or a card game or maybe a sporting contest, and it's true, those are games. But the way we're going to think of games is a lot broader than that. It's wherever people interact with one another. Okay, but we got a little caveat up here. If you look in red, I've got them as rational people. Okay, and that means that the game theory is about how people who are kind of purposive in their behavior, they can think a little bit. Okay, we don't mean super rational, or where you can do all the computations you want at any time and instantly and you get everything right, but you can think about things. And this course is going to teach you new ways of thinking about this interaction with other people, as well as interaction in structured game situations like sporting contests or card games and Scrabble. But it goes way beyond that. Roger Myerson, who is an economist who got a Nobel Prize in economics for all his work in game theory 2 years ago, defines game theory as the study of mathematical, notice I've grayed that out, models of conflict and cooperation between intelligent, rational decision makers. Okay, so I've grayed out the mathematics because economists have a reputation for having all these neat theories and models, and they're all written down mathematically, and people can't understand what they are because they're written in equations. And this course, you don't have to worry about math. It's an interdisciplinary course. There'll be people here who haven't even taken any economics. Okay, they might be English, psych, sociology, engineering, the biological sciences. It's kind of like, well, I want to learn something about this game theory idea, but I don't really have any econ, and I certainly don't want to do a lot of math. Okay, well, you're not going to have to in the course. There is some sharp thinking. Math makes you think a little precisely and logically, and we want to do those two things, but we're not going to worry about any mathematics. Now, the text is a little bit different. The text actually comes from Princeton, and what they did is Dixon started a course maybe a decade ago, and they had a little managerial book that everybody used that was the basis of their course, and they gave it to first-year students at Princeton. And the idea was just to introduce people, but it was so popular that they actually wrote a textbook. And then, of course, in the textbook, they introduced a bunch of things, some mathematical things, which I didn't think are that great. It's not bad, though, okay? But when you're reading the text, if you come across stuff that says, oh, here's an algebraic equation, what does it mean? Or take a derivative and solve this problem, you don't have to do that stuff. Just ignore it, okay? There is a little bit of that in various parts of the text. For the most part, it's actually a really well-written text with some great concepts, some great stories, and some great ideas. A little bit of graphs, but nothing, and there is some math, but we don't have to worry about that. So that's why I put this grayed out bit. Now, the other thing about Meyerson's definition is that it kind of looks at the interactive thing and talks about conflict and cooperation, okay? In a sporting contest, at one side, at one level, there's two teams or two people that are playing against one another, and there's a definite element of conflict. You win, I lose thing. But in a team, there's rational players, and they're trying to cooperate with one another. There might also be some elements of conflict. Star players want to get ahead, and other people want to make the team, things like that, or play in a team. But there's this idea of conflict and cooperation, a thread that runs right through the whole course. Okay. So this is the game theory is the study of science, or we're going to think about this term models in a second, of conflict and cooperation between intelligent, rational decision makers. Now, what Meyerson adds to what Dixit and Skeeth have said is rational and intelligent and rational. Okay, so we sort of think of rationality as, well, there's some objective in mind, like you might think of an animal, your pet, a cat or a dog, as being, they're rational, they want food, they do this, they've got means to get things, they've got objectives they're trying to do, but their conscious intelligence is, at least, well, I don't know what it is, but we can't communicate with them very well, but between people we can, okay? And so we're going to think of a theory about intelligent, rational people. Okay, now, I regard myself as pretty intelligent. You guys are intelligent. We're in a game together. I'm a prof. You're students. Okay. You want to pass the course. You want to learn something. I want to teach you something. Get my income. Keep on with my job. And so we're in a game together, a game of strategic interaction. But in this idea of intelligent stuff, what I want to do is I want to think, hey, the people I'm dealing with, they can think for themselves. They're going to be thinking about stuff, okay? And you as a student you're saying, well, I'm in a game with Fountain here, and he's intelligent. He's going to be thinking about stuff. And all this comes up when you're trying to think about the exam, okay? And you're saying, well, what's he going to put on the exam? And I'm thinking, what do I want to put on the exam? I could put on stuff and I have in the past, by mistake, that you have no clue, okay? And that isn't a very good question for me to ask, but I have to think about how are you going to think about stuff when you're answering these questions. And as you're doing your studying, you're trying to think about how are you going to think about what I'm thinking about? What is he going to put on the exam? Is he going to do that topic there? Is he going to do that topic there? How's he going to be thinking about what we're doing? Now that's what the idea of the adding the intelligent is we have these theories that game theory is about rational, intelligent, interactive behavior, conflict and cooperation amongst rational, intelligent people. Now, game theorists come from a line of social scientists who take that idea seriously. There are some people who don't take it very seriously. So, for example, if you look at the public health administration in our country and in most civilized countries, basically they think we're dumb. Okay, for example, if you stay up till 10 or 11 at night, you might see an ad for Viagra, or you might see an ad for some kind of heart pill, or you might see an ad for a fitness center or something else, okay? And what you don't see are advertisements for prescription drugs. And the reason is that these guys control, the legislators who control what the broadcasters can do. They're in a game, strategic interaction, and they think that if we watch an ad that says, oh, go out and buy that pill because it's going to fix your problem, that they will be unduly influenced by these profiteering, capitalists who are trying to drive us into the ground and extract money from us, exploit us. And quite seriously, the public health people look at consumers and patients as, well, they're kind of like statistics out there, and we took some knobs and they do certain things, but we don't think about them as intelligent people, where we look at ads, and we know these guys are trying to sell us something, and of course that's their job, and we'll sort of think, well, no, I don't really want that depression pill. I don't want to risk taking that. Or maybe I do want to go and talk to my doctor or a friend about it, something like that. But the idea is that in game theory, we take seriously the idea that players are intelligent, okay? So, I'm going to give you a little video clip of what it's like to think about the other player in the game as rational and intelligent. Okay. Now this is deeper than you think. Okay. We've got some definitions. We said we got a theory here. We're going to talk about some models, some concepts, some assumptions about how people interact with one another in conflict or cooperation. The rational, intelligent people. It's all very kind of abstract. But you see, when two players are interacting, and I'm sitting here thinking about what you're going to do, and you're sitting there thinking about what I'm going to do, then I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to do? But it's deeper than that, because I have to think about what he's going to do is going to depend on what he thinks that I'm going to do. So I have to think about not only what he's thinking about, what he's going to do, I have to think about what he's thinking about I'm going to do. But of course, what am I doing? I'm thinking about what he's thinking about, okay? And then he's thinking about what I'm thinking about. And I mean, it's crazy, you know. You know this in relationships when you have. So, for example, this weekend, my partner got a telephone call from her niece who said, "Do you want to go to the Hurricanes Crusader game on Friday?" And so she's looking at me and says, "Do you want to go to the game?" And I mean, I love rugby. I'd like to go to the game, but I know that she doesn't like. At least I think I know that she doesn't usually like going to rugby. And I think she's saying she doesn't want to. You know, just want to go to the game, and I want to go to the game. I said, well, yeah, I'd kind of like to go to the game. Do you want to go to the game? And then she did. It's like you play these mind games. You know, you're trying to think, what is the other person thinking about that I'm thinking about? I don't really want to, you know, we don't have many Friday nights together, and so I don't want to charge off for the game with her niece if she doesn't want to come. But on the end, if she does want to come, then I would like to go, you know. And then, so you're trying to think of what does the other person think about? Now, in that little tussle, that little strategic interaction, one of the problems is you really don't know what the other player wants. It's a good thing to think about. What does the other player want? You know, what do I think about what the other player wants? What do they think about what I want? Now, that can lead you into some interesting lines of reasoning. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen The Princess Bride, but if you haven't seen The Princess Bride, you must go out and get this DVD and watch it. It's a classic movie. It's timeless. I don't know, it must be 20 years old, but it's a very clever movie. So this is an excerpt from The Princess Bride. This guy here who's running up over the hill is Wesley. He's the hero, and he's going to play a game with the Sicilian, okay, who has, if you like, kidnapped the princess. So listen and enjoy. Let's just hope it works, okay?
So, it is down to you, and it is down to me. If you wish her dead, by all means, keep moving forward.
Let me explain.
There's nothing to explain. You're trying to kidnap what I've rightfully stolen.
Perhaps an arrangement can be reached?
There will be no arrangement, and you're killing her.
Well, if there can be no arrangement, then we are at an impasse.
I'm afraid so. I can't compete with you physically, and you're no match for my brains.
You're that smart.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates?
Yes?
Morons.
Really? In that case, I challenge you to a battle of wits.
For the princess? To the death? I accept.
Good. Then pour the wine. Inhale this, but do not touch.
I smell nothing.
What you do not smell is called iocane powder. It is odorless, tasteless, dissolves instantly in liquid, and is among the more deadly poisons known to man.
Huh.
All right. Where is the poison? The battle of wits has begun. It ends when you decide and we both drink and find out who is right and who is dead.
But it's so simple. All I have to do is divine from what I know of you. Are you the sort of man who would put the poison into his own goblet or his enemy's? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he would know that only a great fool would reach for what he was given. I'm not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you must have known I was not a great fool. You would have counted on it, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You've made your decision then?
Not remotely. Because iocane comes from Australia, as everyone knows. And Australia is entirely peopled with criminals. And criminals are used to having people not trust them, as you are not trusted by me, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going. Where was I?
Australia.
Yes, Australia. And you must have suspected I would have known the powder's origin, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're just stalling now.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? You've beaten my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. So you could have put the poison in your own goblet, trusting on your strength to save you, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you. But you've also bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied. And in studying, you must have learned that man is mortal. So you would have put the poison as far from yourself as possible, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
You're trying to trick me into giving away something. It won't work.
It has worked. You've given everything away. I know where the poison is.
Then make your choice.
I will. And I choose... What in the world can that be?
What? Where? I don't see anything.
Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter.
What's so funny?
I'll tell you in a minute. First, let's drink. Me from my glass, and you from yours.
You guessed wrong.
You only think I guessed wrong. That's what's so funny. I switched glasses when your back was turned. Ha ha, you fool. You fell victim to one of the classic blunders. The most famous is never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well known is this. Never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line.
Who are you?
I'm no one to be trifled with. That is all you ever need know.
To think, all that time it was Shortcut that was poisoned.
They were both poisoned.
Okay, well, I won't give the trick away, but you can see the Sicilian's tortured line of reasoning, okay, as he's trying to figure out what it is about the other player and what the other player is going to be thinking about him to be able to make his decision. And it turns out that that idea of the circularity in reasoning where, you know, there's several players and each of the players is thinking about what the other players are thinking about, and they're all thinking about what that other player is thinking about, so the first player has to think about what they're thinking about, what he's thinking about, that circular loop like that. Well, John Nash is rightly famous and for his contribution to game theory, which to kind of cut through that and say, gee, there is a way of solving that. I'm thinking what you're thinking what I'm thinking. Is there any consistency we could ever have in our expectations? And we will see that and our beliefs about one another, and we will see that the game theory is sort of built around this idea of what's called a Nash equilibrium. It's a way of trying to figure out what people would believe and get out of the kind of rut that the Sicilian got himself in. And it's also a really interesting game, too, because there's levels of trickery going on in this kind of game. And that's also a really neat element of game theory, is trying to think, well, how much do I trust other people, you know? What the messages that they give, the sort of deceptions that they bring into the game. And there's various levels of deceptions in this game, not just switching the cups, but if you listen to the rest, if you know the movie, or if you go and listen to the rest of it, you see what Wesley did in order to deceive the Sicilian. Okay, so back to our definitions, okay? Remember, what we did is we just started with the idea, what is game theory? And we've got this kind of abstract definition that it's a science, it's a theory, and it's or a set of models. And we're going to pay particular attention to this idea of a theory. In a theory, there will be some new language, there will be some new concepts that come up, and there's new ways of arguing or reasoning or inferring, okay? And that's what we mean here by a theory. And basically, all of us are going to be theorists, okay? We're going to assume the people who play the games are also doing some game theory, okay? They're going to use the concepts and the language and the methods of reasoning that we'll develop. So both the players, as a player, you'll be a theorist. As kind of observer or someone trying to understand rational interaction amongst people, we're going to develop some theory. Now, without any, I don't want to spend a lot of more time on this abstract definitions or even going through some examples, because what I'd like you to do is pick up your handout. If you don't have one, was there someone came in late, didn't have one? Whatever, okay. Look over somebody's shoulder. You'll see up on the right-hand side a template, and this template is a game called Stop Go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out some chocolate bars here. I mean, I have a wide variety, okay? So if you don't like picnics or Pinkies or Flakes or Moro bars or Dairy Milk, then you'll have to go to another class because that's really all I have. But I'm quite happy to trade. So basically, I'm going to put out 5 chocolate bars here, okay? So this is what we're playing for in this kind of game, and it's a fairly simple kind of game. There are 2 players in the game. There's the player A, the red player, and player B, the blue player. And just at this point, a little aside is that when you come to class, it might be worthwhile bringing 2 colors of pens, okay? Because all the way through the class, I'll use color to help distinguish between the players. If you're just looking at black and white, which often you do in textbooks and things like this with little tables and matrices and stuff, it's very hard to know what's important. But we will consistently use kind of either red and blue or red and black, some alternate colors to carry through the ideas about particular players. So we have 2 players. We have player A and we have player B. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up on the left-hand aisle up here, and I'm going to pick some A players. Okay, and then I'm going to go up on the right-hand side. I'm going to pick some B players, and we're going to play a game for chocolate bars. Just before I do that, I'll tell you what the game actually is. It's called Stop Go, and it's a very simple game. So we have A player on the left-hand side, and we have a B player on the right-hand side. And the A player gets to go first, okay? And they can say stop or go. So basically, the game is you can say, what you're going to do is you're going to say stop or go. And well, what happens if they say stop or go? Well, if they say stop, the game is over. And on round 1, they will get 1 chocolate bar. Okay? But if they say go, then it goes to round 2. And on round 2, the B players get a chance to say stop or go. Okay? Now, if the B player then says stop at round 2, the game is over, but now we're round 2, so they get 2 chocolate bars. Okay, 2 chocolate bars, the B players. What about the A player? Well, they don't get anything. Okay, the B players get the 2 chocolate bars. But that's if they say stop. But if they said go, then it could go to the 3rd round. Okay, the 3rd round, decision gets passed over to the A players over here, and then we have 3 chocolate bars. Okay, 3 chocolate bars, and the A player can say stop or go. If they say stop, the game's over. They get the 3 chocolate bars. What about the B players? No, they don't get anything, okay? The A player gets the 3 chocolate bars. They can say go, and if they say go, it gets passed to the B players. We're in the 4th round now, so there are 4 chocolate bars up here, so the B player can say stop or go. If the B player says stop, then they will take the 4 chocolate bars. They say go, they will pass it over to the A player. The A player can say stop or go, but irrespective of what they say, they're getting 5 chocolate bars. Okay, so that's the game. Now, what I'd like you to do with your little handout, we're going to play, whoops, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my computer. It seems to be fading out all the time, or quickly. I'll fix that later on. We'll try to come back here so that we can see this. We've got 4 games, okay? And I'm going to choose some A players and some B players. I'm just going to get your names. We'll record it for posterity, and tax purposes, things like that. What's your name? Martin. Okay, Martin, you're going to be an A player and play the first game. And what's your name? Sebastian. Okay, Sebastian, you're in game 2. We need some women up here. Okay, we're going to have equal gender balance here to be politically correct. What's your name? Karen. Okay. K-E. Thank you, Karen. Hi, excuse me, what's your name? Alicia. Alicia, okay. Nice to have friends, isn't it, Alicia? Okay. A-L-I or A-L? A-L-I-C-I-A. Yeah, we got to get this correct from your friend. Okay. Okay, cool. Now, so okay, so we've got Alicia, who's been volunteered. What's your friend's name? Hey, Helen just volunteered Alicia. Okay, so they'll probably cooperate together. And we have Karen and Sebastian and Martin. Okay, so you guys are the A players. And again, while I'm walking around here, not everyone can play this. One is I don't have enough chocolate bars, and the other is we don't have enough time. Okay, but what I want you to think, I want you beginning to think about what are you going to do as an A player. Okay, and for those who aren't playing, you want to think about what do you think of what they're going to do? If you had to have a theory of predicting is that A player going to do? Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Meanwhile, I shall choose some B players. What's your name? James. Okay, James, you're playing round 1. What's your name? Sabrina. Sabrina. Okay, so you're 2. Hi. If you sit near the aisle, you're dead, okay? Actually, you'll get lots of chocolate bars. What's your name? Bindy. Okay, so you're 3. And hi, what's your name? Has. Okay, Hess, you're number 4. Okay, so B players, we've got Hess, we have Bindi, we have Sabrina, and we have James. Okay, I can't read. Okay, now the first. Jeez, I will fix this for next week. It's obviously some kind of automatic thing that's going on, and I'm running out of power here too. Phew, good thing I saw that. Okay. The B players. James, you sort of clear what you have to do? Okay, you've got to make a choice. And actually, there's 2 question marks. So you've got 2 things, right? You could choose at round 2, which is where you come in, or at round 4. Like you may get 2 opportunities. You may not get any opportunities, okay? But I want you to write down what you're going to do. And it's the same for all of the other B players. Now, A players over here. Sebastian, you happy with what you have to do? Okay. Okay. Do you know what day it is today? It's Monday. Okay, we're on the right page here. Good. Okay, so you're player A, and according to the little sort of chart up there, there's going to be round 1. There's going to be 1 chocolate bar. If you say stop, the game stops. You get that chocolate bar. But if you say go, it gets passed over to the B player, and the B player gets to do something. If they pass it back to you, you will get another chance. And that's your second question mark box. Okay? And then your third question mark box, if the game gets that far, okay, then you could be 3 different things you would have to decide. What are you going to do in round 1? What are you going to do in round 3? What are you going to do in round 5? Is that okay? You guys got that idea? Okay. Pardon? Are you all? You're player A on this side over here. Those guys are player B over there, and the people in the middle, they can be both player A and B in the sense that I want you to think about, this is what the game theory is about. What do you predict is going to happen in this game? And at the end of the day, the theory should help you fill in the boxes, okay? But the theory is also kind of some reasoning in there. We want to figure out what's kind of going on, okay? Alicia, are you with me here? If not, kick Helen to do it for you, okay? Yeah. Now, okay, that's the first task is what's the A player going to do? What's the B player going to do? What am I going to do? You know, what's the other player going to do? Actually, that second question is really the second level because not only do I want you, Sebastian, to fill out your red boxes and think about what the A player is, I want you to think about what the B player is going to do. Okay? And so these guys over here, I want them to think about what the B player is going to do and write it down. And similarly, with the B players over here, it's not just a question, you know, James, of you sitting here figure out what am I going to do, I'd like you to write down what you think the A player is going to do. Okay, because that's the element, that's the thing that about this reasoning is that, okay, the other person I'm playing again is an intelligent, rational person. So not only, and I'm an intelligent, rational person, even if I'm just waking up on a Monday and I'm trying to get my head together on what's going on. Now, okay, just and I take another step back is in this course, we will do this kind of experimental games a lot in the class. And I'd like you to take a little risk, okay? Like if I ask you to play, you're not sure exactly what to do. You might make a mistake. You might do something dumb. You might do something smart, okay? But really that's what the learning process is about, okay? There's no point in kind of pretending you know everything. You don't. And the game theory is kind of cool because there's some new ideas here, and you want to kind of go out on a limb a little bit, just try something, experiment, and get an idea. Okay, yeah, that's a really interesting idea, you know. And you learn from your mistakes. That's what so don't worry about doing something, quote, wrong, okay? On the exam, there's right and wrong. In class, it's not so much anything is right. It's more whatever you put into it and what we can learn from it, okay? Unfortunately, I can't do that in the exam. We have to have some right and wrong answers, but that's life. Okay, so you got the B players. Any questions? Are you allowed to communicate with the other player? At the moment, no. Okay. It's just so just no communication. You're sitting there, and I presume you guys, whoever you're playing against, you don't really know them, and but it's a good question. Okay, Martin's. So that I mean, are you allowed to communicate with the other player? And just put that. I mean, that's a good question to ask. Let's sort of, why would it matter? You might think about that, okay? And that's going to be part of the theory. It's saying, well, gee, there are games with communication and there are games without communication. If you have games with communication, blah, blah, blah. If you have games without communication, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's what a theory would do with that. But remember, this other thing is, though you can't communicate with them, you can think about what they're going to do, okay? And then after everything happens, you can say, well, gee, I thought this, that they were going to do that, and they didn't do that, or they did do that, or that sort of thing, okay? Okay. So, now, notice I didn't just ask you to think about your stuff. I asked you to write it down. And writing is kind of interesting because once you write things down, especially if it's in pen, it's sort of fixed, right? And so what can happen here is, Martin's sort of thinking, I'm going to do something, and James is thinking he's going to do something, and then they change their mind, okay? Which happens in games. But if you write it down, then for example, if the A player writes down, fills in those 3 question mark boxes, that will kind of fix their choices, okay? Now we're going to talk about a term called strategy in a second, which is actually not just what you're going to choose, but in this game, it's all of the choices you would make whenever in the situations you find yourself in a game. And that's the general understanding of a notion of a strategy. It's different than a choice because you might be planning for things that will never happen, okay? So, you're going to write something down, it's going to be fixed, and we'll just see what you do. Okay? I'll just give you a minute. And for those who aren't playing the game, I'd like you to write down what you think the A player is going to do and what you think the B player is going to do. And in your head, you might be thinking about why, because I will ask what your thinking is as well. But just take a minute. This is what the theory is. Okay, James, what are you? Okay, so your choices will be these. And this is what you expect. And this is what you expect he's going to do with these chances. Okay. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can chat amongst yourselves if you're doing this too. I don't mind a bit of back chatter here, okay, as we're trying to figure out what to do. Okay, remind me to come back and ask you. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. No, that's exactly. That's good thinking. Okay. Oops. Bindi, what are you going to do?
I think they'll do.
That's what you think they will do.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So what are you thinking?
What I will say, you mean, or?
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna? You're a B player. What are you gonna write in? What are you gonna do? And what do you think they're gonna do?
So we are playing 5 times, or?
Well, it depends. We're potentially 5 times, but whether you get a chance to play depends on what they do. If they say stop in the first round, then you're not going to have a chance. But if they did say go, then I'd like you to write down what you would do, and what you're going to.
Right here, what I'll do, or?
Yes. And similarly on that one there, just have a little thing about it. Okay, Sabrina, how's it going? What are you?
She's helping me, and now I understand.
Okay. Well, so what do you think you're going to do? What?
As a B.
Yes, as a B player.
I probably would choose
And what about at 4?
Well, most people think I have opportunity to stop like 4.
You can stop or go at 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they will block me.
They may, but what if you get there? What will you do? It's you might not ever get there, but if you got there, what would you do?
If I get there,
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I would just take it, yeah.
which is stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you think about what you think they're going to do, okay, while we're doing that. Okay, I'm just trying to collect these, get this information down, and then, okay, Martin, so what are you up to?
So you're saying, what am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
That.
And what did you expect them to do?
Well, they wouldn't go any farther with it. But if they did go farther, I would say they would say...
Okay. Sebastian, what? You're totally lost. Okay, that's all right. We'll just put that. Okay, that's no problem. Okay, Karen, what are you up to? I see. You're going all the way down. You're playing all 4 games, are you? Ah, excellent. Okay. So that's very excellent. Good thinking. Okay, so but you're going to go. This is what you're going to do. You're player 8. That's right. You're going to do that. Okay. Yeah. But if you're thinking about what they're going to do, if they're only going to do something if you let them do something, but if you did let them do something, what do you think they would do? Okay, and the same with you. If they actually did say go, which is not what you think they're going to do, but if they did, okay, great. Okay, that's what I want to get. Still chewing it over here, okay? There's 2 people working together over here, okay? 3. You're gonna share the chocolate bars, are you? Okay. So we got a moment of confusion over here and amongst 3. Can you tell me what you're confused about, Alicia?
Well, we don't want to stop like the first time because then the game would start. That'd be rather silly.
Okay, so Alicia has just said that she's not sure what to do, but one thing is that she doesn't want to stop the first time because then the game's over and that's kind of silly. Okay, then keep going.
But then if you put go the first time, the second person would say stop, and they get 2 chocolate bars.
And let me repeat what she just told me. Is that, but if you do say go over here as A, then the second person is going to say stop. The B person is going to say stop, in which case you don't get any chocolate bars. They get 2 and you get none, right? Okay, now, so what, you got 2 things here. Say, if you say stop, the game's over. And if you say go, the game's over for you, but not for the B player. At least that's what you think, right? Okay. What if the B player over there? What if you were to think that the B player over there would say go on the second round? Well, it's their choice. What would you do if you thought that they were going to say go? You'd say go in the first round. Okay. So you get the idea here that. I mean, the dilemma that Alicia is sort of facing is, well, there's 2 things I want to bring out here, but one is I want to think about what the other player is going to do. Now, when I was talking with Karen over here, Karen had written down 1 stop in her position and her slot and nothing else. Okay, and that's fine. And her reasoning was, okay, if I say stop, the game's over. Right? That's true. It's stopped. She gets her 1 chocolate bar, okay, which I will give to her in a second, because whoever she's playing against, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to get a chance. And that is, sorry, Bindi, okay. Bindi, what did you write down again? Stop. Okay, so Bindi said stop over there, so and Karen said stop. But I probed a little bit deeper for Karen because what I wanted Karen to think about. Let me just go down and do this on the. So you can see it on the overhead here. We don't get a blue screen. Okay. I want the red players not only to think about what they're going to do. Karen thought about what she was going to do, and she realized if I stop on the first round, which she did, Do you have a preference? You like picnic bars? Is that satisfactory? That's okay. If she stops in the first round, she's playing against Bindi. Bindi gets zip. Okay. So she didn't think about what Bindi was going to do. Put it this way, she didn't write it down, but she actually did think about it because she thought. I said to her, "What do you think the other player would do?" And they're not going to. They're going to get a chance. It's true. They're not going to get a chance if you say stop. But you're trying to figure out what their strategy is. What are they thinking? What's their reasoning? Okay. And you correctly predicted what Bindi would do. That she would stop. Okay. And now it's also true that I wanted you to go beyond the just the next round, saying, what, if we ever get to the end, what would they do? Okay. Now, Martin was similar. Martin said stop, and Martin was playing with James. So, sorry, James. I don't know. And Sebastian and Sabrina. Okay, Sebastian's up there still trying to figure out what's going on. Sebastian, can you tell me what you're still finding a little bit confusing? Hey, we're only at university, you know. I mean, we could do this at play school as well. That'd be really interesting, wouldn't it, to do it with 4- and 5-year-olds with chocolate bars? You'd wonder if they catch the. So anyhow, I think it's too simple. Yeah. Okay. What would you think about it another way? Could you think about it another way? Okay, but are you interested in chocolate bars? You wouldn't mind one, okay? For effort, okay? So Sebastian's playing with Sabrina. Sabrina, you can have one as well, okay? And who else we have here that I haven't done? We haven't done. Well, we did do Alicia and Bindi, but Haas, did you figure out what you were going to do? You would stop, okay? And so Haas was playing with Alicia, and Alicia actually hadn't figured anything out yet because, so you guys really shouldn't get any chocolate bars, but I will, I'll be a nice guy, okay? So, now what do you think? You think I can make it all the way up there? Whoops, sorry. Boy dies in 223, yeah. And just because you guys, is there anyone who hasn't? James, you can have a chocolate bar too. Okay, here, Bindi. Haas, Sabrina, did you get one? You got one. Haas got one. Okay. I mean, I don't know. What about the collaborators, Helen and their mate up there? Do you think they should have one, possibly? Because they're all equally bad. Okay. Now, last year, if you look at Lecture 2 in the beginning of last year, it goes over what happened in Lecture 2, and we actually had one guy who went go, go, go. Okay, as an A player all the way through. Now, nobody predicted that he would go, 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 but he actually went go, go, go. And so I asked him what his reasoning was, and he said, well, I want to lose. I want the other person to have 5 chocolate bars. That would be the best thing for me. Okay? So now if you think about it, that's a rational thing to do. If that's what your objective is in the game, is to give away chocolate bars, then it would be better to go all the time. Okay? If you want chocolate bars for yourself, well, what you got to worry about is I'd like 5 chocolate bars, but I'm never going to get out there if the other guy also wants 5 chocolate bars. Okay? And so our theory would be, and it's not the rational thing to do in the sense like, oh, there's the best thing to do. It's like, when you think it through, if I'm self-interested about chocolate bars, if the other person is self-interested about chocolate bars, I should stop in round 1, even though by going to round 2, I got a chance to get more. Now, James had written down some probabilities of the other guy doing stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about probabilities later on in the course quite a bit, just this idea about uncertainty. But he's saying, well, if the other guy was 50-50 or 80-20, then I might do something different. Let me just sort of summarize what we're going to take out of here, is that with this simple game, and it is very simple. Now, in all of the games we're going to do, actually, they're actually going to be fairly simple games, but there's some important strategic points. And game theory is fantastic that way. It's got all these neat little stories. They're very simple little games, and then they've got an essential strategic point that you're trying to make out of it. Now, if you read in Chapter 2 and 3 of Dixit and Skeeth, they have stuff about relationship games, about management employees. I think there's 6 different topics that they go through. And just little examples, little stories, and then they take out a strategic point. What I'm going to ask you to do tomorrow is go into Blackboard and, after having read some of that stuff, and figure out what is the strategic point of those examples. And what I'd like to ask on an exam is, okay, Dixit and Skeeth have 6 examples that they use to introduce game theory. Explain one of those examples and what the key strategic point is. Okay, that would be a kind of exam question which I'd like to be able to ask. So it tells me, have they read the text? Yeah. Have they discussed it a little bit in WebCT? Well, there was some discussion there. This is what came up, and that's the main idea and the strategic point. Okay. Out of this particular little example, the key thing here is the idea of rational intelligence. You want to think through not only what you're going to do, but what the other player is going to do. Now, this was a rather unique class. In other years, we've had mixtures of goes and stops and all kinds of things. And so some people got 5 chocolate bars. So, for example, we're running just a little bit late. Okay, but can we? Are there two friends in the room? 2 people who came together to class up at the front here. Any of you guys? Are you're a friend with somebody over there? You're not that good friends. Okay. Well, I'm going out of the room for 30 seconds. You tell me. I'm going to come back in 30 seconds. So I want A player, B player. You can communicate, okay? Okay, that was the past 30 seconds. What did they decide? They decided to rig the game and split the chocolates. Well, give me 5, okay? That's what you'd expect from cooperation, right? And I will give you, you can have your 5. Oh, okay. It was a different game, okay? What can I do? You guys can pick your chocolate bars up on the way out. Now, it's very interesting. We did that in previous years. We did that as well. I walked out of the room, and then I came in and I did another deal with a guy up front. And I said, okay, we'll communicate. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? And we go apart, and we write our things down, and we put them together. And I reneged. Like I said that I would go as a B player, okay? And he said that he would go as an A player, which he did, but I actually put go and stop. So I got to round 3 there as a B, round 4 as a B player, and I picked up 4 chocolate bars. And that's because even if you have communication, at the time the decision comes around, people can still make their own choices. And they, if you weren't friends, didn't know one another, thinking, that guy's I tricked them. They rigged the game, and I tricked them. So it turns out that these kind of, there's a lot of interesting ideas that come out of a simple game like this. So tomorrow what we're going to do is, the last part of the handout is a thing called 6 questions. We're going to look over that material. It's explained in Dixit and Skeeth. I think it's chapter 2. It's just a way of generally looking at the questions you want to ask about strategic interaction, and we'll relate those to the stop-go game, and then we're going to start in on a first set, which is called the theory of sequential games. Okay? So we'll see you tomorrow.